Welcome to Flatrock Poetry Open Mic. We're so glad you're here today. We have a lot of great poems today. First of all, would you like to hear Train of Thought or I Am the Dishwasher?
I'm the dishwasher.
I'm the dishwasher. Okay, cool.
There.
It's okay. Okay. I'm the dishwasher. Well, right now anyway. We plan to get the mechanical one soon. Install it below the counter, just so. And I'll only hand wash dishes on occasion. Delicate things, you know. Washing dishes, I remember things. Hear things, voices, flashes of memory. Stravinsky, Vietnam. Floods of water over my hands as things become clean. I make things very clean. The water soothes me. I made the heat just right. I learned how to wash dishes from my mother, one of my older sisters growing up. In second grade, in fact, I remember it was my task coming home after being picked up, at long last, from the babysitter's house. Too much of the ether and juicy fruit. Little did I know what was going on and why it took forever for anyone to come pick me up. I'd do my homework somehow and wait, watching the black pine trees dripping in the forest outside the black window from the love seat, slipping. When I got in the car, there was always the juicy fruit to take the taste out of my mouth or to freshen my breath after all that, however you want to think about it. On the way home, the trippy classic geometries of our small old town formal squares of Georgia homes melted by for me, the grand old oak trees stretching up toward the stars and streetlights in turn. At home, stumbling in to find my own dinner on a separate plate, everyone already having had theirs together over news of the day. I never felt like eating it, cold, old food, so we began instead to wash the dishes, which is my chore, while the rest of the family watched TV and laughed. That was my lot, not understanding, so now it comes up while I'm washing dishes. The air alarm sounds in Nashville now at noon some Saturdays. Today it sounds like the fear of World War II, while my hands are soapy and remembering the Cold War of a family living through the Cold War. After the siren, it warms up. Now things are different and holy. Holy is the sweet smell of fresh lawn grass you are cutting outside, the scent of fresh bubbles on my hands, cleaning everything just right for us. I finish. I am the dishwasher. Do you think women do not think while they do the dishes? Children, for that matter, learning chores. All the cold wars of memory are being cleaned from my hands every time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to see while I'm cleaning. We have a wonderful feature poet today, Kristen, Chapman, Gibbons. She's here, and we're very excited about that. But first, we have other poets who also have wonderful, powerful voices. First up, Robert Stone. Welcome.
I'm pretty well known for writing sonnets, so I'm first going to read a sonnet. I need some explanation good enough to satisfy my wishes unfulfilled and keep my expectations strong and tough, so I will make it up as best I'm skilled. When criticism comes, I often choose to claim each accusation as true thought and greet denunciations as old news, so I can limit spread and calm the halt. When praises boost, I must remember well to realize that all is not my own and carefully acknowledge what friends tell, so I can watch against pride overgrown. Most wonderful are words that stir the mind, for places intellect will never find. This is this year's. Now I'm going to read a poem that is from 1960, when I was pretty young. It's called Abstraction. When I sit alone and meditate upon the ultimates of life and death, I often come to think that all who think must think as I. Consider, I say unto myself, consider. This is so plain straightforward that no one who has intelligence could see a plainer way. I convince myself of my own thoughts. I exclude the words of others. I make myself omnibus, and I am happy in exclusion. But then, something will strike out at me. It's when I view the abstract painting in some museum of art, in some museum where I know the art is chosen by finely appreciative people. I am left with nothingness to guide me. My mind and thinking fail me. My ego suffers the death in life. For here is the work of another mind, whose expression is so far from me that I cannot bear to hear it praised. And I say unto myself, flee from this place, return unto your own familiar existence, and live secure within yourself. And I run and seek my own well-knowns, converse with those who suffer my pride, and avoid the greater minds. Thank you.
Beautiful writing, Robert. How many sonnets have you written?
About 300, I guess.
300. That's amazing. It's beautiful. Just 300. Just a few. Thereabouts. All right, we have Richard Nelson.
Good afternoon. I wrote a poem about my wife, actually a lot of them. This one is one I wrote as she was leaving for California to see her dying mother. As of today, we've been married 50 years, 3 months, and 28 days. So it's starting to look like it might work out.
I'll let you go.
She's absolutely incredible. I titled this, While You Were Gone. When you disappeared into that huge silver bird, it seemed you carried my life in your little suitcase. I think that some who watch us live perhaps assume our secret rests in earthly goods. And some may find it hard to imagine that our mutual care explains all of our delight. So, while you were gone, the thought of you required more space than all the things we possess. And in your absence, I needed something precious. So I remembered your life and thought upon it. Thank you. We were in Trinidad, Tobago. From that little set of islands, you could see Venezuela across the way. It's quite far south. While we were there, some Indian friends of ours, whom we met in Nashville, the first week they were in Nashville, have become our great friends. In fact, he was at our house last night, and that was 20 years ago. They had asked us after some time if we would go back to Trinidad with them and meet their family, which we did. We stayed with them in wonderful situations for 2 weeks. While there, he took me to really felt like a Southern Pacific, even though it wasn't the Pacific exactly, event where there was a man playing some drums. The drums were made out of wasted oil barrels. Oil barrels that were destroyed, good for nothing. He had taken them and shaped them and beaten them into drums. So I wrote something about that. It was so beautiful, it was just beyond imagination, just incredible. You had to hit each spot to make a different note. So here I had steel pans in Tobago, octaves of gentle tunes rising from fingers made tender by love of the music flowing through the drummer's hands, sounds exuding from softened strokes like sunshine on a lover's hair, rising and falling like an organ's lullaby, born again. Birthed in Trinidad and Tobago, this drum seems born to dream of rhythm and tones flowing out from some creator's far-stretched mind, imagination producing what logic could never find, and the beauty of sounds visiting where music had never lived before. Steel pans are what these heavenly gifts are lowly called. Impossible, I thought, to be created anew. From wasted oil drums, of all things as I see and hear tonight, these steel pans, made from crude barrels which were designed to bear crude oil in darkened places on a crude ship, shifted by commerce carelessly around the world. Yet, some creator turned their destiny when he saw in their crusty state a vision of song none before him had ever contrived. Against reason, slicing off the better portion of a rusted barrel and putting it to the fire, chiseling, beating it into a far-stretched pan, at last appearing as a gigantic bowl ready for a drummer's hand, needing only that the bowl be dipped now into vats of chrome. Tonight, we see the lovely pans and we hear their warbling sounds, like birds singing, like organs wooing, like the touch of velvet sheets around a dreamer's eyes being held by love. Tonight, in the moonlight, we feel a flow in the fingers of the drummer's spirited hum as he caresses with love the transformation of that wasted drum. Yes, Lord, such was I, defiled, spent, with a life given to worldly waste, until you redeemed me and changed me into a new man, like a drummer boy with heavenly taste.
Next we have Henry Jones.
Oh, that's what. How you all doing? You know, days like this, two things: sunny days and bad weather. You get that balance between who's actually going to come and listen to some poetry, because you know where everyone is out there right now. I want to share some poems from my book, Run Into Blackness, Building My Poetic Gumbo. The first poem these are a series of short poems, and I was thinking about it because I picked out some long ones. I said, let me do a lot of short ones, because someone said to me, you write a lot of long poems with imagery and all this. And I was like, no, I write different types of poems, you know. So, Kiss to Iman. Iman is the motto. I used to have a wild crush on her. tried to find a woman that reminded me of Iman, my wife, many times. Just, I'll probably go after her if we get a divorce or something bad happens. Anyway, African queen, standing tall, a gazelle, strong to the touch, a lover of lover, gentle to the hold of child, sun glistens on your teeth as you greet eyes and smile. Walking through the market, I see you and stare, then grin. She's coming. Like some bashful child, I stare after you stop by my table and buy okra from me. My day was made. She was, I don't know if it was in an African village or a Caribbean, but there was Iman, with models, they take them all around the world, and she was standing in the market, and I just started fantasizing. I love okra, and I said, I could have been that okra guy and seen her coming through the market, and hope she'd buy some okra from me. Because I'm sure some of those guys out there was like, ooh, who is that? This next poem is titled Gone. Can't be without you, just can't be without you. In me with all the words turned into poems, burn them to burn you. Now you're gone in all the jive and jazz. This next one is titled Later Years. Because I have wondered, when you get older, what happens in relationships and all, and is that spark, and how do you keep things kindled? Because I've watched numerous relatives, and and I just said, I wonder. So this is what I came from that. Later years. Come here, my lover. What we have to offer passion is time. After all these years, we can't sacrifice a moment of being apart. Death lingers, time in the kitchen, simmering the pot with a slow boil until done. Then lapping every spoonful, never wiping our chins as the gravy covers our lips, we know the taste of seasoned love and passion. I know we had kids, but I said, I think I can read that. They won't figure it out. Another love poem, Our Love. I still remember when I realized I'd never see you again. The wounds I made would never heal. Time won't comfort them. I tried to understand where I failed, why I wasn't godlike enough. No faith in myself or you brought the fall. Then I discovered I'm only human. But this truth didn't resolve anything. It only made me see more flaws in this so-called perfect love. Our love gave me strength, so much it caused fear to let go, meant feeling unworthy. Being loved or loving, overcome the need to deny myself of being loved by anyone else but you. Stop. I didn't plan this one, but I'll get to it. This poem is titled A Strength That Bonds. I'm an artist, and we have 3 children, and my wife breastfed our children, and it was a big issue. People, they have problems with it, but women are very discreet. And I was in a park jogging and saw a woman with her shawl, breastfeeding. You saw nothing, it's a natural thing. That's what they're fed for, right? And I saw people just staring at her and looking and so forth, and this was a big issue. And I wrote a poem from that, and then later I drew this picture, and then that became a sculpture and all this other wonderful stuff. Because for whatever reason, still, after multiple thousands of years since we've been here, that's shocking, but we know we can look at TV and see more, Okay, A Strength That Bonds. Warm August winds push sweat to a nipple, dripping life knowledge, to a clutching child nursing for courage through mama's breast. Stairs formed a bond, mother and child embrace. Faces searched, eyes held, exchanged, with the strength kept silent as they reached toward each other's hands and touched the sun together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henry. That was very powerful. My power here today. Empower. Next up, we have Kristen Chapman Gibbons, and I'm going to introduce her properly. Okay. Let's see. Kristen Chapman Gibbons is a dear friend, and she is also True Stories Let Loose. She's an artist using storytelling to grow community. She tells stories from her own life on stage and teaches others how to share their own. Kristen curates and amplifies the stories of others with collaborative projects, storytelling shows, and a podcast. Kristen has been writing for 37 years, saying, "I write to remember myself, to make sense of breathing and having a heart." In addition, about the dear friend part, Kristen is a fellow community artist who drove me up and down and sideways in Nolensville Pike community for several days, gathering data into a laptop. We now have an online map of resources of Nolensville Pike community with over 650 contacts. 166 of those are food related, and that's the tip of the iceberg. For Kristen is always there for me in support of the community as an artist and a dear friend. And with that, please welcome Kristen Chapman Gibbons.
If you ever get a chance to ride up and down Nolensville Road with Amy, do that. It's well worth your time. So before I read, I just want to kind of say something because it helps me be present in the moment. I've been writing poetry for a long time, and all during my 20s, it was the only creative thing that I did. So I did poetry a lot. It was kind of my main thing for a really long time. And then I had kids, and I could not write a poem to save my ever-loving life. And I did think about it for a long time because I just didn't have time to. I have 3 kids too. So I didn't have time to do that. I didn't have time to wonder about it. But when I finally got some time to breathe, I thought it's because I don't have this sort of space, mental space that I need that's very open and not crowded, right? That I have to be so focused on taking care of people and getting things done that my thinking has gotten very linear, right? And poetry for me is not linear. So I challenged myself when my kids, my youngest one turned 8. I thought I don't have to worry as much about these little youngins anymore. So I can find my own mental space again, right? So I've been trying to get back into writing. I'm not going to read very many. I think I'm reading 2 old poems, but the rest are new. And they're probably not as good, but I don't care. So there you go. So I'm an Appalachian American. I'm from Appalachia in East Tennessee. And my family is from upstate South Carolina, which is a county that borders Georgia and North Carolina. And literally, people joke, but my father didn't have running water until he was 14 years old. Like, I'm 1 generation away from an outhouse, folks. So it's not like a joke when I say I'm a hillbilly, like that is my people. So I always start with that because I feel like it's important. I shouldn't be here, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's, I think like I'm kind of like kudzu, like I'm really hard to kill. So this first poem is called Walhalla, which is a town in upstate South Carolina that my daddy's from. Cruising up through Walhalla, forced to ride my brakes all the way up 28 in town. And then the roads get like corkscrews, and the sweat of teenagers leaves the mountain roads slick, and my pulse quick. I remember tow-headed boys, coley flying round Oconee's Dead Man's Curve, soused on shine, desperate to be remembered. I remember that green feels oppressive, only interrupted by Confederate flags still flying. by roadside stands with boiled peanuts and South Carolina peaches. They whisper the do's and the don'ts, but the cops will tell a stranger and neighbor alike, as the altitude gets higher, you better slow way down. And remember, them poor boys done flew off the edge like they was on a race to the bottom. So I wrote a lot of poetry to help me understand things that I couldn't make sense of and I didn't have words for, and a lot of those things in my life have been about interpersonal relationships. So a lot of my poetry is about that sort of nebulous area between people that I don't know how to navigate often without being awkward. So this is a poem one of my older poems, that is really about how I grew up and what I've had to kind of work with in my wiring. And it's called Lesson. Heavy legs sprout feet that glide fretfully over narrow wood. I know this weight, this lumbering weight that swings despondent on porches at night. Mama taught me that suffering is better than anger, and men who love you can hurt you most when pain is invisible and wildly dispersed, versed in tiptoeing around brutality that calls itself love. Sometimes, as unpredictable as envy, you must be nimble to survive. We practice what we learn, and every man I have ever loved, I have loved in grief, evolved from what I have given, or from the resistance of my no, and the inevitable over-under of how much moment plays out from my essential places. I am caught knowing too much and understanding too little, telling one after another in prisons vast and thorny, through delusion thick as cotton, in dreams that wake them sated. When I am not weeping, I tell them in careful words, I am writing in the sky, I love you fiercely, and actively struggle how not to love you so much, that the act of loving you is killing me. Really cheery stuff. Yay, sunshine. Okay. So this next poem is another old one, but the reason I chose it is because I hadn't read it in like 15 years, and I read it recently, and it struck me that I wrote this poem about being in a codependent relationship, right? Like I was the codependent person. But when I reread it all these years later, it really struck me that it could just as easily be about white people. So I'm just going to leave that with you and let that sort of marinate in your head about how this might work, with another layer on top of it. So it's called Suffocate. Behind a veil of enlightenment, I have spoken for you. In kissing you so fiercely, I have sucked out all of your oxygen. And because I am guilty of protecting to the point of crushing, my grip cannot sustain the vice. I let go. I don't want to silence you, but my intentions don't matter when you cannot catch your breath. As in all reconciliations, I'm obligated to acknowledge the damage done, because from recognition comes covenant. I vow to rearrange my frames, to speak less in your presence and louder in theirs. I make amends and enemies too. I celebrate the seething struggle that allows for both. I will kiss you more lightly or not at all. And in the absence of my tongue, I can hear you consent or refuse. I can hear you protest. I can hear your hosannas. I can give you that much. Okay, all right, so this one is about depression. Yay, more cheery topics. Okay. The wave is coming. I'm tracking how the white is gathering at the tips. Studious and serene, I flow up and over. The wave is coming. My line of sight is to the white, but time has shifted, and I am too much away from the sea. Buckled and submerged, the wave is coming. Fighting to stand and feel the sun on my nose, being upright is my birthright. Immediately hit again and again and again, torn asunder again. The wave is coming. Since permanent encampment on the shore is a worse death than drowning, holding your breath for so long, for too long, becomes the way you breathe. All right, I'm going to do two more. Is that okay? All right. So this is a poem I wrote about Trump. It's not exactly about him, but what it is about is I wrote this for a project right after the election where people were talking about their own reflections about what had happened. And it's called the Nasty Women Project, and it's on Amazon. You can find it. But this poem is called Whiteout. And shout out to Stephanie Pruitt-Gaines, who's not here, but who definitely helped me flesh this poem out. There are ways to survive a winter you aren't prepared for. A storm even the most beloved prognosticators misread. There are instructions to heed when you are trapped in blizzard conditions and horizons disappear. You tell yourself the day started with defiant bare arms. And then, like a fickle Tennessee afternoon, the clouds signaled a temperature drop. And it did. Even as the electoral map grew bloody, it began to snow. Wet, white, and unceasing. Suddenly, the familiar markers are blurred and indistinguishable. Voices, like bells, get muffled when covered. And when you waste time immobile, wondering why no one thought this whiteness wouldn't blind us, why have so many lost the ability to see who the villain is? He walked right into the spotlight, announcing his sorry intentions on an Access Hollywood bus. How could they not see? We believed each new horror would be enough. Our privilege sustains this delusion still, even as we are forever falling apart. I wanted so badly to be believed. I needed for everyone to recognize this bad guy, and they didn't. Or they did, and they didn't care. And the snow keeps coming. It doesn't care what it smothers. The how-to is as follows. Focus on what is in front of you. Conserve resources. Protect skin and eyes. Vulnerable areas require extra protection. Build shelter. Snow can be sculpted, hollowed out, burrowed into. But you must ensure ventilation. Follow footsteps if there are any. Avoid panic. Focus your mind. Aim for slow, steady breaths. In times of additional snowfall, anticipate avalanches. Stay hydrated, dry, and warm. Keep moving. Lethargy will lull you to fatal stillness. Know that each step forward keeps your blood flowing. Stay alive as long as you can. All right, one more. This one's called Indecision, which is a permanent state for me. It's my worst character flaw. Don't ask me what to have for dinner. I do not know. Before you deem your heart's wings cracked and wholly to blame for faulty design, maybe you just lack the nerve. Maybe you are missing something other than clarity, and maybe it's not an inborn defect. Maybe you hover for reasons good and terrible to admit. Maybe you lack fuel. Maybe you know exactly where you need to put her down, but you are just afraid of the branches you're going to break on the way. You can't circle in the air forever, girl. because you will miss those magnolias. In the unexpected ways gravity can shape a memory, you will resist that pull, the insistence of a choice, and wobbly you'll go, teetering as if pickled. Land, dear one, land. What is broken can only get whole once it settles. Thank you, guys.
All I can say is, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Another hand for Kristen, please. All right. Now, would anyone else like to read? Charles, would you like to read? Okay. Charles White. Okay, he's going to be here in a little bit. Thank you.
You're someone to follow. That was awesome. I should read from books, but I've been typing a lot of stuff on my phone. Let's see. So I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Charles. I'm a Tennessee boy from the other side, from West Tennessee. And I've been in middle now for like 10, 12 years. And this is home, and I love it. And there's so many good people here, and I love coming out to these things and hearing other voices and sharing mine. And I haven't been on a mic in like 2 months, so a little I'm good. Yeah, I'll start. I might tell you some more. So I just wrote this. I call it Letter to God. Why do you want me to do all those things? Which things are for me and which need to move on? Who's on the team? Like the A-team. How do I find them? What will I say to encourage it to come into being in a good way? Will they have the same skin color as me? Will we have the same backgrounds or even similar backgrounds? Will they be from other parts of the world? How will I know for sure it's them? Who are the social artists with whom I will weave a web of stories? Will others hear us when our hearts unite? Will healing happen on this earth tonight? Can it be rapid or is it a long, long time? Do I need to know any of these answers now? Will each answer arrive in a precisely perfect moment? How does one know it's from you? Are you? Am I? Trending towards no and yes, besides a bed of lice. Who wants to sleep there? I heard they eat your hair. That's not fair. Why? That's it. It helps me to get playful when there's questions about like relationships to God and purpose and all that, because like who knows? All right. I wrote another really cool one recently. Aha. So I haven't memorized this yet, but I intend to. And it doesn't have a name. Alright. I decided to memorize the words of this story. I did it for me and I hope it helps you. Oh, the gravitas of my conscious thought, musing, and the rapid birth of a newfound state of choosing what is loving to me. And so I choose for real to arrive in a moment of presence. And then fractal into a multi-dimension of fate found flawed as we weave a web of our lifelong dreams. Found in magazines, on a TV screen, computer ad maybe? Do your mom and dad believe? Someone you love says it's he or she or non-binary or fully actualizing cosmic earth presence for the revolution of conscious evolution, sane and simple solutions with a dash of playful illusions, because, those are fun. Lifted, we are seen by all as they see. Our here and now and the we is a place that's quite barren of am, though each moment is filled with dimensional bits, pieces, pods of levity that pop on like fake eyelashes in the midst of an ice storm. Snap! Each moment is a dream and a journey to catch and release and then stand in the ocean of reason while the wind whispers softly in cavernous niches of conscious cloud clams that clip through the candy of causal greed crannies and weed nannies and tree spanning with knee banding and greed sanding to smooth out the bumps and grinds of energetic flow. So in this moment we go again. You and I, will you come along? Playful vibes and a favorite song, Epsom salt in a tub that's warm, agitant and a bit awry. Envision Earth with love that's live in all places of space and time. Fifth dimensional love is kind and so full and connecting to, not to mention fourth and third and second and first dimensions and all those other dimensions too. None quite know yet how it all relates. And as we share our truth and wisdom with each other, it opens gates and doorways to new places where all can be truly honored divinity that resides in heart-filled sea, not literally, just figuratively. That'll do. Thank y'all.
Since the kids are gone, can I read one more?
You got a dirty one?
I have a dirty one. It's not really dirty, but it's not something I would read in front of the children. Is that okay? It's very short. Plus, I love the name of it. It's called Sad Little Orgasm. Sad little orgasm, you are the wilted flowers offered after a breakup. Given too late, waited with expectation, still given, reluctantly received, with equal parts sorrow and spite. This particular death is the sequel you pay for that sucks. But your heart loves the characters, feels bad they are stuck in such a story. Like a true believer left behind, you are not sure if praying will help. Your consolation is that you got a whiff of the bloom before the petals fell off.
Thank you, that was awesome. Now, who else would like to read today? Lydia, would you like to read?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Isn't the right lesson?
Just got here, but I was at another event, and then I tutored earlier this morning, but my brother friend invited me out. He says, "You never come to the Flatrock Cafe." So I said, "I'm going to come." My name is Lydia Cook. I enjoy going by Born to Write the Poet. I haven't shared this piece. I'm just going to impromptu because I'm feeling a lot of different things today. So today I've been out since 7 a.m. and in my old relationship, that would have never happened to be at 3 events in one day without arguing about it. But I took my power back, yay, and I left. Give some love for leaving. And it's hard to leave when you love, right? So, may I?
Yes.
And I enjoy singing a little bit. So is that okay? Some mics don't like for you to sing, some don't care.
Yeah.
It's an old song, and I'm an old school girl. And it said, what do you want to do for love? I tried everything, but I didn't want to give up. What do you want to do for love? I tried everything, but I had to give up. I was in love, right? I was in that crazy, dope, stupid kind of forget your name and never think about what you want kind of love. I was in so much love that you could have told me that the sky was going to turn purple and I would have probably believed you because that's how gone I was for you. I was in so much of love that I forgot the strength and the power that I had as a woman. Everything I did and every move I made became about you. And even though I was out there encouraging and teaching and trying to make other women feel the best that they could feel, to tell you the truth, when I was at home, I was being kind of phony. I was not keeping it real because I was miserable. See, I was a person, I didn't realize how bad I needed love to love me. I needed love to love me so bad that even if it hurt, I said, I guess love can hurt. But what I found is that real love is not supposed to hurt. Real love is supposed to encourage and empower and inspire and maybe scare you a little bit, but it should never hurt you. And I found myself with this sweet melody that would not leave my ears, and so I began to sing, and it said, what do you want to do for love? I tried everything, but I wouldn't give up. See, in my mind, there was only you. Made me do for love what I should not do. See, that love was so controlling I could hardly breathe. And it was so controlling and manipulating. It wanted to know why I had a cold or why I had to freaking sneeze. And I'm like, it's just a course of nature. I was in love to the point where I couldn't hang out with my friends, and I had to lie about my whereabouts, and it made me feel kind of crappy inside because I am not a woman that likes to deceive or lie, but I found myself lying about the truth, if that makes sense. Lying about who was calling me and who's texting me back. And if you've never been in a controlling love like that, then you won't understand a word in this poem or a verse in this freedom that I now have, because I've been out since 7 o'clock and I haven't answered to anyone because thanks to time I've lost my mom and my dad, and that's the way that it should be. Love is supposed to be kind, respecting. But I did anything for love. And I looked so strong on the outside, and I'd hold up my fist with black pride, and I stand with my white friends like I don't care, let's ride. But at the end of the day, love cost me way too much. It was a check that I couldn't afford and a bank account that I could not sign the signature on anymore. And so I got fed up. I left almost $250,000 or more house with $17.34 for the world I did explore. Whew. So I called up a real friend and I said, I'm tired. I don't even have $20 in my pocket, but I know that I deserve more. My vibrations, my energy has to raise higher because I am a queen, and you know what that means. And he said, Lydia, I've been waiting for you, my friend, to leave that scene. But I said, what I won't do for love. And I gave everything. It was hard to give up. 'Cause in my mind, there was only you. It made me do for love what I'll never do. You made me do for things that I'll never do. That's that piece, y'all. Another piece?
Sure.
Oh.
If you want to.
Sure. So, when I left, I was brokenhearted, I was sad, I was afraid, and everything like that. So sometimes when you, I don't know about you, but when I find myself in that space, I kind of got to be my own cheerleader in my own squad, and I got to look in the mirror, and like I tell my kids, I teach part-time, I tell them, look in the mirror and remind yourself who you are. And there's an African proverb I love to share with them, and it says, it's not what you call me, but it's what I answer to. So I had to look in the mirror and tell Lydia, it's not what you've been called. And do we use profanity on this mic? We don't. So you're not a B-I-T-C-H. If you have to ask, you generally probably shouldn't, is what I tell my kids too. So I tell myself I'm not a B-I-T-C-H, I'm not a mother sucker with an F, right? And so when you hear that so much, you begin to believe those lies. And so I wrote a poem to me, from me, through me on my birthday, which was April the 4th. And it was kind of my redemption piece to myself. Because when you treat yourself bad, you have to forgive yourself, first of all, and forgive the person. So this is what I wrote. It's not really titled, It's in my phone. I'm going to read out my phone like the young people do, right? And I want to shout out Henry Jones. Can we give Henry Jones some love? This is like got to be one of the most supportive networker connectors in the game that I've met. Like, this guy knows everybody, like everywhere. So he was one of the friends that helped me move my stuff to my new apartment. And I left kind of close to 6,000 square feet to a 998 square feet, 2-bedroom apartment. That house was about 5,200 square feet, they say. I didn't see it, but that's what it was. And so after all that, I don't like leaving you sad. I'm a poet that want to leave you inspired and encouraged and take you on a journey, okay? So I wrote this. And I had to realize why I went through that. So I went all the way back to my childhood. And I met this lady at a learning lab, Kristen. I'm sure I missed you, and I'm sorry. I wasn't here, but I was somewhere else. And so she said, Lydia, when you share your poetry, it's okay to be vulnerable. And I'm like, dude, I am vulnerable. Like, but I didn't think about it. So you hear people, and I thought about it, and I wrote this piece. And here it is. It's untitled. It says, can you hear me without the mic? No. Get off the mic. Use the mic. Use that mic. The mic is your friend, isn't it? Okay. So I recall the preacher kids serving me hell on Sunday mornings. God bless you. I recall the preacher kids serving me hell on Sunday mornings. I remember pain that would bury me deep. But those weaknesses became my strengths, and effortlessly now, thanks to the Most High, they carry me. See, when torture almost murdered me and pain attempted to bury me, that was yesterday. Southern winds almost blew me away, and I suffered from rejection that shattered me into broken pieces. Nasty, hurting little girls claiming prophetic lies like Lydia will be aging hopelessly in governmental projects with maybe 10 kids or more. And sadly but graciously, I have not one child to explore. She will die in those streets with no dignity or self-respect. But God had other plans for this life. I used to hide in the dust of the shadows, crying tears of aching disdain, so much stress on my brain, and my stomach would remind my head to ache. How my knees and legs would quake when speechless words I couldn't find for bullying snakes, but I'm so grateful that God had other plans for this life. See, now lives a beautiful warrior, a true hope and dream of a slave. I said, I am a true hope and dream of the slave, Queen Maya. A poet attracting positive loved ones, born to write is her stage name. So now she's awakened, a gorgeous rainbow in the midst of a storm. God's beautiful masterpiece, big, black, and beautiful. She's never been one of the norms. A written prophecy. Understanding that I'm God's property, refusing to let anything or anybody anywhere stop me. With all humility, you see. A modern day saint, never claiming perfection, but I sure know what she ain't. She ain't a young girl called Fat Cow or an ugly, stupid loser or a disgrace to her mother's living master degree having legacy. Called a disgrace to her mother's womb. Somewhat of a forgotten soul that some thought to say, I'd say, may I help you for the rest of my days. Some estranged backyard help with a mop or a broom, but God had other plans for this life. So never allow anyone to define your divine. Never allow anyone to define your divine. Save your energy, preserve your peace, and protect your mind. And no matter what the occasion, as it was written, don't ever cast your pearls among swine. I said, don't ever cast your pearls among swine. Because there are many things that can be replaced, but never, ever, 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 ever can we get back wasted moments on the hands of time. Honestly, I used to pray for eternal sleep. I remember when the pain was buried so deep. But those weaknesses, they became my strengths, and effortlessly they carry me. So when torture almost murdered me and pain tried to bury me, I smile Because it's amazing how the same war wounds give you strength, even the itty-bitty ones that we endured as a child. So now my soul rejoices, because God knew and still knows the plans that are made for my life. This is signed, reflected, and delivered by Lydia Cook, but I enjoy going by Born to Write.
Lydia, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, and I love your imagery as well. Very powerful. Would anyone else like to read before I read one last poem? Would you like to read? Come.
We all read more, Amy?
Sure, that's fine too. Arlene Martinez. Yay.
Hi, my name's Arlene Martinez Linger, and I have never read publicly. I actually left my poetry at home, but there's one that continues to go through my mind this year in particular, with a painting I've been working on based on grace. So I'm going to attempt to remember it, even though I'm extremely nervous, and read for the first time publicly. Yay! It's called Grace. Eat the honeycomb. Let the nectar roll down. Breathe in the honey that brings grace. Eat the honeycomb and let the flower that's within grow. Forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive him. Forgive her. Forgive them. They. Because to not forgive is to die in your own poison. Forgive yourself and embrace your Pollock complexities, your passions from Kahlo, and remember that you also carry Monet and O'Keeffe. Breathe in the honeycomb and speak grace. Woo. The only one I have.
Charles White is back on the mic.
Okay, I was timid before, but I'm like comfortable in the room now. I'm gonna do a little teeny bit of shameless self-promotion because it seems like there's some awesome people in the room, and I just want to do it. So this new thing birthed from me recently. I did what I'm calling a Sojourner of the Heart in Hawaii back in February, and what came from that, among other things, was this idea of sacred play, which is this idea, we dance, we move, it's our speech, it's like our painting, it's anything that we do that's kind of very playful and just lets the spirit move through us, right? And it's not a new concept, but it just came to me, and I was like, whoa, what if more people could get into spaces like this, where we're kind of doing it, right? We're doing it here, where they're invited to tune in to their sacred play and really let that come through them, and there's some facilitation and like helping them, encouraging them along the way. And so I've got about 1 million ideas that have been rolling through, but the one that has an actual date right now is called Sacred Play, the Art of Movement and Storytelling. And so we're going to get together in Donaldson at this place called Solace, and we're going to shake out our trauma, get in our body, and do some things moving around, right? Kind of tune into each other. And then we're going to move into a space of storytelling, and we're going to pair off, and we're going to do small groups and larger groups. And it's either you tell stories from your life, or you make up stories, or it's incoherent babble. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to shift into making a whole group story. And also, there's going to be an element of stories moving, right? So people hearing other people's stories and really listening and carrying that story on through the experience. And my whole idea with this whole thing is weaving the social fabric together so that we all recognize the importance of our sacred play and our sacred story and can begin to populate that around. And it happens, but the more I think we're conscious of it, the bigger that can be and the more stories can be told. And it's just, I don't know, it's feeling really cool. And so then we're going to play with food a little bit, we're going to come back, and then we're going to do it all with movement, no words, like animal mass, getting into archetypes, and just really kind of moving some things out. And we're going to make a big mandala together and like kind of anchor it in with the earth and set that energy and let it kind of spread around the city. So that's like this new thing, and I don't know where it's going to go, but it feels really cool, and I want to play with other people in this, and I don't know who that is, but anyway. So there's that. So talk to me if that's like, hey, cool. I wrote this poem a long time ago, and I forgot about it, and my buddy sent it to me. He like shared an old post, and I was like, oh, nice. So I called it Rage, and it feels relevant because when there's this form of anger that is sacred rage, and that's when like our deepest kind of like calling, our soul song, whatever you want to call it, gets violated and those boundaries get stepped across. And so then we move into that sacred rage, and it's like, no, this is me. You don't cross the me, because this is where I'm at. And a lot of like, if we can move into that and cultivate that in a safe way, because we need it, because a lot of boundaries be getting crossed. So here we go. Rage while it's still legal. Rage to make sure it stays that way. Rage every moment of every day. Rage for love, however you find it. Rage until you're no longer blinded. Rage away corruption and greed. Rage to fulfill all your needs. Rage for the revolution. Rage as we experience evolution. Rage to the beat of your drum. Rage for the movement. Which movement? All of them. Rage for artistic expression. Rage for we are people with a vision. Well, maybe not all of them. Rage on Tuesday at 3. Rage until you have to pee. Rage because so much is wrong in this world. Rage because so much more is right. Rage for the balance. Rage for the salmon, carrier pigeons, and caribou. Rage for me and rage for you. Rage because truly expressing our emotions breaks the mold. Rage when it's super hot and rage when it's freezing cold. Rage until you get old. Rage like the storms of the past few years due to climate change. I'll date this. Rage for spring 2013. Rage for spring 2018 and victories within range. Right? Rage for hearts that need mending. Rage for love that's never ending. Rage for rebels, dictators, vegetarians, healers, homeless people looking for another chance, corporate lobbyists, and our magical transformative powers. Rage for inspiration connected to the person who took your picture. Rage for spoken word. Rage for the freest form of human expression. Rage for late nights sober and staring at the stars. Rage for early mornings, still drunk as the sun rises afar. Rage for the last time you hugged your dad. Rage for the first time he held your hand. Or your mom. Rage for your mother and the best hugs ever. Rage on every possible tangent. Here, there, there. Rage until your face turns blue, your eyes bulge out, and your pants evaporate. Oh, mine are still on. Bummer. Rage like a Merkaba, right here, spinning rapidly and constantly refreshing reality. Rage, because we are here right now, in this very moment, and it is so incredibly awesome and beautiful. Just rage, yo. Bless.
That was awesome and spiritual and grounding and all kinds of things at one time. Thank you. Any other readers today before I read another poem? All right, I'm going to do it. This one's an old one from around 2006 when I was living up in Maryland, so there's some Maryland references in there. Train of thought, what you don't know. I'm a walking paradox on my way to the car in my dreamy state. I'm awake, still dreaming in traffic, a long white expanse with its red lips. Meanwhile, each of us in our little car boxes, our little worlds. It's another beautiful day dawning at the Department of Energy. The geese are on the lawn near the barricades. Good morning, you. You're a mama's boy. Now your mouth out full in a wide pink yawn, your mouth down slug in the travel mug. A strange place again in my mind, a languid dream, a baker's dream of delicate recipes, a welder's dream of merging disparate elements in the night of dreaming during the day, plumb the depths of night, work through the grooved pavement, bump, groove, grind. I want to make the signs. Still feeling it, blind, still steering. The peaceful state of Genevieve, like colors on the walls, change when she touches them, and on their own, the telephone poles switch to schooner masts, and she's off in the middle of your conversation. The moon is waiting for the night trains to fly to it, for the airplanes to glide on silver rails. Make some zigzags in the parking lot on my way, and sudden as a laugh as light as feeling 19, all the unused dental floss waiting inside their encouraging little boxes. The best intentions of the world curled up. Write some positive erotica, a long silk love letter to my red. Make it right again. I'm tipping it over. Can't you see? You don't even know me. I'm ripe and I deserve to be. Me now, again with my jumble head, my circus head in the jumble field, the circus fields, the sea fields, in the picnic bed with the bit torrent on. Download this. The coal black birds in the jumble house of the tumble down mind, the jumble mind. I sure could use a ukulele and some barbecue on a moonlit night and a very slow dance under shimmer trees. The train comes just then and the bar goes down, holy roller, holy sweet, streaming and it's gone. The shortest trains now for lack of passengers. Ghosts of 40s A trains and red cabooses, Jasmine train, jazz invention, and jazz freight train, the velvet underground of your mouth, bliss charter, crystal transport, the train of your understanding across some nameless bridge, some damp fold uncrossed it out. All the nice birds, the sweetness returns from Cabin John to Glen Echo, all above the swirling green bird on a quest. Meanwhile, the clouds above the traffic stop some smooth building, interrupts the pieces coming backwards, making some sense surreal. The sky is full of clouds for Howard Finster. He's up there putting faces on each one. He says, get it back on with your zigzag, girl. Get back in with your light. Equanimity to the bubbling sea of us, humanity, planet, bulging with veins and lightning quasars at night, electric light, still a miracle somehow. Now that's some kind of serious wonder. Rinse, repeat. Thank you so much. I'm so glad everyone came today. Sure nobody wants to read anything else because we've got a good mic here. So, all right, well, we're going to close it down. Good to see everybody and see you next time. Dana Malone is our feature poet. It's the 4th Saturday of the month, and I don't know that date right offhand, but it's going to be good. So look forward to seeing you again. Hope you can come back. Thank you. Have a blessed day.